In this third video, we're going to have a look at this area over here and doing some work on these clouds. So this is what we've got mixed up. We've got that sort of orange that we've done some of those rays of light, and also the orange to the left of the sun. We're going to paint these clouds in, and probably I can do a fair bit of it with this mid-sized brush. And let's mix up something that is roughly in that zone of those clouds. If we just do a quick sample, we can see that it is a bluey kind of a base. So I've got some burnt umber just to desaturate my blue. And I think that's not too far off it. And I'll need to put a little bit of white into this now, just to soften that colour. It's like a grey. Put a little bit of that in, but we don't want it as a browny colour. We want it as a bluey sort of base. So we just keep adding a little bit of blue. And I think, without testing it, that is probably going to be reasonably close. So I'll keep this off to the side. We'll have our reference here. I'll drag my colour wheel off to the corner, and so I think I sampled in here, that's a blue, but when we get down to here, that becomes an orange. So anything that's got direct light on it is more of an orangey colour than a bluey colour. So we'll just work with that. These are the sort of bluey colours, these ones that are up the top. So it kind of goes, that's not looking blue enough to me. When I put it on the canvas, I can see it's like a orangey colour. So start again, more blue. Blue is normally described as a cooler colour. It's more typical of what you find in shadows. So we need to make that colour a bit cooler. That is looking okay. So I'm just sort of getting my reference images sort of aligned up. I don't know whether I've got it a bit dark there. I think I have. So again, I'm just putting little bits of white in here just to slow it down a bit. I think I went a little bit hard on the darkness. I'm mixing it a bit more because sometimes you have a lot of paint in the brush, and I'm just trying to see if I can darken it up a little bit. Just seem to have been able to do. So obviously one way to soften these rays of sunlight is to, put something over the top, apart from rubbing them back. I've kind of lost the darkness that I wanted, so just darkening it up a bit. So yeah, it's a real, as you can see, I'm constantly looking at the image that I'm working from. I'm trying to see, have I got this? Is this sort of right? I'm reasonably happy with that now. If you can see, I'm reasonably happy with that sort of greyness. So I'm going to bring that down along this edge. So a little bit of white jumped onto my brush. And I could make a decision just to go, oh, well, look, I'll come back to these sun rays and just paint over the top for now. I've got a little bit of white coming into my colour, so it went a little bit on the light side. So I'm trying to be really careful, especially with the black. So let's just sort of say that we're going to come back and redo that ray of light. So I'm bringing that through there. And we've got something like that. So I'm keeping my brush strokes pretty horizontal in this area here, just trying to get these shapes sort of roughly right. And then what we know is these clouds here have got more of an orangey, reddish tone to them. So what I'll do is I'll take the same mix, but just throw in a little bit of that orangey base, and so shift it from a bluey colour to something a little bit more orange. So what this says to the eye is that it's these clouds are catching the sunlight. Pretty happy with that sort of look. You can see how I'm really particular with the brush strokes I'm using. Trying to move them out. You can see what I'm trying to achieve is that, and I'm making a reasonable go of that. So this is around the sun, and then I've got some of these, and obviously next week we can add little bits more of detail there. I could have been using this pointy brush, but look, for the moment I'm using this on its edge. It's like I sharpen it on the palette and then I use it on its side just to give me a nice little sharp edge and I flip it when I run out of paint. So look, a couple of key things. These areas that are getting hit by the sun have got more of an orangey base. It's subtle, but it's true. And these areas up here, which are out of direct sunlight, are more of a bluey base. Okay, so that gives you a little bit of structure there. And you need to just sort of check that this cloud is doing the right thing. One of the things I think is quite important about this cloud is it needs to slope upwards, which is what the image does. And then you can just put some little kind of edges on this cloud. It's got a couple of little funny little edges there that just break it up and make it look a little bit more realistic. I'm going to do one more thing. I'm going to put a little bit of action up here. So for that purpose, I'll grab some white. I think it's still an orangey base, so I've got colours already mixed. So I'm adding some white. It's just a question of how white it needs to be. So I'm aiming to do that and maybe a little bit of that. So I'll just, this is going to be my brightest white. Looks a bit too bright, but put that like that. And then it just sort of, I can probably use some paper towels and brushes to soften that. This bit here has to be not as white, so I'll throw that in. I've just softened it a bit and I'll put a little bit up here, and there's like a few little lighter bits of cloud there. Look, not unhappy with that. I can certainly, look to sort of smooth that off and soften some of those edges that are there. But yeah, generally I'm going to need another week on this. But yeah, I've started to get the detail in on that.